The year was 1923. England was balanced uneasily between tradition and modernity. The war was over, but its shadow was everywhere in the men who walked with canes before their time, in the empty chairs at family tables, in the silence that clung to railway stations. Yet, in the countryside, the great estates pretended nothing had changed. They carried on with their dinners, their servants, their rituals of wealth and power, as though the trenches had never happened. Harrington Manor was one such house. Built of grey stone, scarred by centuries of rain, it rose against the February storm like a fortress. Inside, golden chandeliers spilled light over polished oak and velvet drapes, banishing the gloom of the night beyond. Fireplaces roared. The air was thick with perfume, cigar smoke, and the sound of voices lifted in polite laughter. But the warmth was a thin disguise. Beneath the polish, tension crawled. Lord Edward Harrington presided at the head of the long dining table, silver-haired and commanding, with a face that carried the weight of generations. To the county, he was a figure of untouchable power. To his guests, he was something else entirely, a man to be feared, flattered, or despised, depending on one's place in his orbit. That night, his guests were as carefully chosen as the wine on the table. Colonel Arthur Blackwood sat stiff in his chair, shoulders broad beneath his uniform, his hand trembling slightly as he lifted his brandy. The colonel had fought bravely in Cairo, but he carried scars no metal could hide. Across from him sat Jonathan Reed, an American investor whose quick grin and louder voice cut through the English reserve like a blade. He eyed the silverware, the paintings, the chandeliers not with admiration, but with calculation. Near him, Eleanor Harrington, the lord's estranged cousin, watched the table with a half-smile. She wore satin, pearls, and too much rouge, but the whispers said she was penniless. And at the edges of the room moved Mary Doyle, the new maid, slipping between chairs with the silence of someone trained to be unseen, though her sharp eyes missed nothing. The storm outside grew heavier. Rain rattled against the windows. Thunder rolled low, as if the heavens themselves were listening. The guests filled the air with talk, but the talk was brittle. Reed pressed the lord about investments. The colonel drank more quickly than he should, and Eleanor's smile never reached her eyes. Lord Harrington watched them all, silent and amused, as though he saw through every mask. When the clock in the hall began to chime midnight, the lord rose. The conversation hushed. He raised his glass of champagne, his silver head catching the glow of the chandelier. To the Harrington legacy, he declared, his voice steady and sharp, "May it outlive us all." The guests echoed him, glasses lifted, the crystal chiming like bells. The 12th strike of the clock rang out, long and low. By the time the sound faded, Lord Harrington was gone. At first, it seemed a jest. Harrington was known for theatrics. But when minutes passed and the lord did not return, unease stirred. A servant reported his study was locked from the inside. When the heavy door was forced open, the room was empty. The fire burned low. A cigar smoldered in the ashtray. On the rug lay his pocket watch, its glass shattered, its hands frozen at exactly 7 minutes past 12. No footprints, no broken windows, no sign of struggle. Just absence. The manor rippled with whispers. Guests looked at one another, suspicion replacing politeness. Some prayed under their breath, some muttered about secret passages. The storm outside howled louder, as though sealing them in. By dawn, Inspector Alastair Grant of Scotland Yard arrived, trench coat dripping from the rain. He was a man of middle years, with eyes that carried no illusions. He gathered the household in the drawing room. His voice was calm, clipped and sharp. The colonel was questioned first. His voice, roughened by years of command, broke slightly as he confessed, "I owe Harrington a debt from Cairo. A debt I cannot pay, but I'd rather live with shame than murder." His hand shook as he set his glass down, the liquid trembling within. Jonathan Reed followed, lounging in his chair with an ease that was more performance than truth. Yes, I went to the library after dinner, he said smoothly. I was looking for cigars, but in the Lord's desk, the inspector had already found the ledger that told another Story Investments Reed had begged to join and Harrington had rejected. His smile faltered when the inspector mentioned it. Eleanor was pale now, her rouge standing out like paint. I came back only to reconcile, she said, voice sharp with defiance. But in the desk drawer lay a draft of Harrington's new will with Eleanor's name struck out entirely. Her eyes flickered when she was told of it. And Mary Doyle, the maid, lowered her gaze as she whispered that she had seen a shadow slip into the study after midnight. It was not the Lord, she insisted softly. I swear it was not him. The inspector listened, measured, and nodded. Every guest had reason to hate Harrington. Every guest had lied, if only a little. But still, the study itself remained the greatest riddle locked from within, silent and empty. Grant returned to the room alone. He walked slowly, listening. He smelled it now, damp earth, faint but undeniable. His hand brushed the paneling until it caught on a draft. With a push, the bookshelf groaned open, revealing darkness beyond. Torch in hand, he entered the narrow passage, its walls pressing close, stones wet with centuries of rain. His footsteps echoed. The air was heavy with damp and dust. He followed the tunnel until it opened into a forgotten wine cellar. And there, against a barrel, lay Lord Harrington, lifeless. A bruise darkened his temple. His cigar case rested beside him. The inspector knelt. The broken watch told its tale. At 12:07, Harrington had entered the passage himself. Perhaps to fetch something hidden, perhaps to avoid a confrontation. But someone had known, someone had followed. The footprints in the damp earth told the rest a woman's shoe. Eleanor Harrington was brought before him. Her voice, when she confessed, was trembling yet fierce. Yes, I followed him, she said. He told me I was nothing, that I was to be cut off, erased from the family. I only wanted to speak, but he laughed. He laughed at me. I pushed him, just once, and he fell. He never rose again. I didn't mean. Her words broke off into sobs. The storm outside was breaking into a gray dawn as she was led away. The remaining guests left in silence. The champagne bubbles of the night before curdled into shame. Harrington Manor stood still and cold, its legacy fractured by the greed it had bred. Inspector Grant paused at the threshold before leaving. He gazed back at the house, the great windows dull against the gray sky. He had seen greed before. He had seen how fortune twisted family into enemies. What struck him was not the hidden passage, nor the locked room, but how easily blood could betray itself when money pulled harder than love. Lord Harrington had toasted to his legacy, but by dawn, the Harrington legacy was finished. This version is thick with description, gestures, weather, dialogue easy to stretch past 10 minutes in narration. Do you want me to *** push it even further into that documentary-style crime story voice *** like it's being read on a true crime show, or keep it strictly as historical fiction storytelling?